I'm about to show you exactly which blood pressure readings are actually dangerous over the age of 60 and why 99% of seniors are making a massive mistake right before they check their numbers. You might think you are perfectly safe because your readings look fine most days, but a hidden error in your routine could be masking a serious problem. And the truth is, the outdated charts in many clinics mean your doctor might have been telling you the wrong information for years. I remember a man named Arthur who was 68 years old, waking up with dull morning headaches and sudden dizzy spells, completely panicked because he did not understand what his home monitor was really trying to tell him about his heart. These symptoms of heavy pressure in the head and unexplained fatigue are incredibly common, but they often lead to unnecessary anxiety when you do not have the right context for what those numbers truly mean for an older adult. The very first and most crucial step is mastering the accurate home blood pressure measurement, because how you sit and prepare before pressing that button dictates everything about the number you will see on the screen. Doing this correctly prevents false spikes that can lead to unnecessary medication changes, stress, and frantic calls to your clinic when your pressure is actually completely fine. Margaret was 71 years old, and she was rushing to the emergency room constantly because her home monitor frequently showed dangerous, terrifying spikes that left her feeling completely helpless. Her major mistake was that she was measuring her pressure immediately after walking her dog, while sitting on a soft couch with her legs crossed and chatting with her husband about the daily news. Once she changed her routine to sit in absolute silence with her back supported, feet flat on the floor, and resting for 5 full minutes before taking a reading, her terrifying spikes completely disappeared and her numbers stabilized. When you move around, talk, or hold tension in your muscles, your heart naturally pumps harder to supply oxygen to your body, which temporarily raises your blood pressure readings to levels that might look alarming but are actually perfectly normal for movement. To get a true resting baseline, you must eliminate all of these temporary physical demands so that your monitor is only measuring the baseline tension in your blood vessels when your body is in a state of complete and utter relaxation. 2. You must shift your entire focus to understanding the misunderstood danger of your top number, which is known as your systolic pressure, rather than obsessing over the bottom number. Keeping a close eye on the top number is vitally important because as we age, it becomes the truest and most reliable indicator of how stiff our arteries have become over the decades. Richard was 65 years old, and he firmly believed he was perfectly safe from heart issues because his bottom number was always a beautiful, healthy 78. He completely ignored the fact that his top number was consistently sitting at a dangerous 165, a mistake that left him exhausted and at a high risk for a cardiovascular event until he finally addressed it. Recent major medical studies have completely shifted how we view senior health, revealing that for adults over the age of 60, it is the top number that is the primary driver of heart issues, while the bottom number naturally tends to drop or stay the same as we get older. This happens because the large blood vessels stretching away from your heart naturally lose their youthful elasticity over time, becoming more like stiff, rigid pipes rather than flexible, stretchy garden hoses. When your heart pumps blood into these stiffened pipes, the pressure spikes significantly higher during the heartbeat, which is the top number, but then the pressure falls quickly when the heart rests, which is the bottom number. You need to pay attention to your daily readings and look specifically at the gap between your top number and your bottom number, because a very wide gap is a clear sign that your arteries are demanding more support. When you discuss your numbers with your healthcare provider, make sure you are clearly stating your average top numbers from your home readings, rather than just assuming you are fine because the bottom number looks low. Anyone who has been told in the past that only the bottom number matters needs to be cautious and gently update their understanding based on what recent studies are now showing us about the aging cardiovascular system. Focusing your attention on the correct metric supports steadier readings over time because you are no longer ignoring the actual warning signs your body is trying to send you. Here is another simple habit that you can incorporate into your daily routine. 3. You need to practice a 5-minute pressure release technique using a specific paced breathing rhythm whenever you feel a spike coming on or right before you take your daily measurement. This simple action immediately calms your nervous system, acting as a powerful same-day lever that opens up your blood vessels and reduces the workload on your heart without requiring any special equipment. Susan was 74 years old, and she suffered from severe anxiety every single time she even looked at her blood pressure cuff, a condition often called white coat syndrome, which caused her numbers to artificially skyrocket at home. She learned a simple breathing rhythm that safely brought her nervous system out of a panicked state, and within just a few days, her numbers came down to a manageable, healthy range right in her own living room. When you are stressed, even just slightly anxious about taking a health measurement, your body releases hormones that tighten your blood vessels and tell your heart to beat faster, which instantly drives up the pressure inside those vessels. By deliberately slowing down your breathing, you are physically sending a signal through a major nerve in your body that tells your brain the emergency is over, allowing the stress hormones to fade and the blood vessels to gently relax and widen. To do this properly, you should sit comfortably and breathe in slowly through your nose while counting to 4, making sure your stomach pushes outward as your lungs fill completely with air. Then, you must gently exhale through your mouth as if you are blowing through a small straw, slowly counting to 6, allowing your shoulders to drop and your body to melt into the chair. You want to repeat this 4 in, 6 out rhythm for a full 5 minutes before you ever press the start button on your blood pressure monitor, keeping your eyes closed to block out any visual distractions in the room. If you occasionally feel lightheaded when doing deep breathing exercises, simply return to your normal breathing pattern for a few moments before trying again with a slightly shallower breath. This easy and completely free daily habit supports steadier readings by ensuring your body is never fighting against hidden tension when you are trying to capture an accurate measurement of your health. One more easy change is related to how you start your morning. 4. You must drink a full glass of room temperature water first thing in the morning, immediately after waking up and before you take any blood pressure readings or drink your morning coffee. This simple morning hydration habit expands your blood volume early in the day, which stops your heart from having to overwork and forcefully pump thick, dehydrated blood through your system. Thomas was 69 years old, and he struggled with chronic, terrifying blood pressure spikes every single morning that left him feeling dizzy and afraid to start his day. It turned out his blood volume was dropping significantly overnight due to severe hidden dehydration, and once he started drinking a large glass of water upon waking, his morning numbers smoothed out beautifully. While you sleep for 7 or 8 hours, your body is constantly losing water through the simple act of breathing out moist air and through the natural overnight functions of your kidneys. By the time you wake up, your blood is physically thicker and has less fluid volume, which means your heart has to squeeze much harder to push that thicker fluid through your arteries to reach your brain and organs. When you drink water immediately upon waking, your stomach absorbs it very quickly, sending that fluid directly into your bloodstream to thin out the blood and restore normal volume, making the heart's job incredibly easy again. You should keep a glass of water right on your nightstand so that it is the very first thing you reach for when your feet hit the floor, ensuring the water is not freezing cold, as cold water can actually shock your system and temporarily tighten blood vessels. Wait at least 20 minutes after drinking your water before you sit down to take your morning blood pressure measurement, giving your body enough time to fully absorb the hydration and settle into a relaxed, properly fueled state. If you are on strict fluid restriction guidelines from your doctor due to kidney or severe heart issues, you should always measure out your morning water from your total daily allowance to ensure you remain within your safe limits. This immediate morning hydration routine supports steadier readings throughout the early hours of the day, when seniors are historically most vulnerable to sudden and dangerous cardiovascular shifts. 5. You must actively begin adding safe, potassium-rich foods into your daily meals to balance out the sodium in your bloodstream rather than solely focusing on eliminating every single grain of salt from your daily plate. Shifting your attention to this essential mineral directly helps to relax the stiff walls of your blood vessels and signals your kidneys to flush excess sodium out of your body naturally, which significantly reduces the overall workload on your aging heart. Betty was 72 years old, and she ate completely bland, salt-free food for an entire year because her doctor told her a strict low-sodium diet was the only way to save her failing cardiovascular system. She was utterly miserable, and her daily pressure readings barely budged despite all of her difficult culinary sacrifices, leaving her frustrated and confused about what she was doing wrong at home. Once she stopped obsessing over removing every dash of salt and instead started purposefully eating potassium-rich greens like fresh spinach and sliced avocados with her meals, her pressure naturally stabilized, and she was finally able to enjoy eating real food again. When you only cut out salt without actively adding potassium back into your diet, you are missing exactly half of the biological equation that your body relies on to control the fluid volume inside your delicate blood vessels. Potassium acts as a natural pressure relief valve inside your body, actively softening the rigid walls of your arteries while simultaneously communicating with your kidneys to pull circulating sodium out of your blood and excrete it safely through your urine. You can easily incorporate this simple dietary shift by adding a small handful of fresh spinach to your morning eggs or placing a few thick slices of avocado alongside your normal afternoon meal. You absolutely do not need to rely on expensive, confusing supplements from the pharmacy, as getting this vital mineral directly from whole foods is the absolute safest and most effective way for your digestive system to absorb and utilize it properly without overwhelming your system. If you have chronic kidney disease or you currently take certain prescription blood pressure medications that naturally cause your body to retain potassium, you must speak directly with your primary healthcare provider before intentionally increasing your daily potassium intake to avoid dangerous internal imbalances. Maintaining the correct ratio of these minerals is critical, and a doctor can easily check your blood work to ensure your kidneys are fully capable of handling a sudden increase in potassium-rich foods like leafy greens and avocados. Assuming your doctor gives you the green light to proceed, this very simple daily addition to your meals supports steadier readings by giving your body the exact raw materials it needs to naturally regulate fluid volume and internal vessel tension. Another helpful step is to look closely at what happens when the sun goes down and you prepare for a night of rest. 6. You have to address fragmented sleep patterns and find a practical way to minimize the number of times you wake up completely during the night to use the bathroom or simply stare at the dark ceiling. Protecting your continuous, unbroken sleep cycles prevents your brain from pumping out high levels of dangerous stress hormones that artificially elevate your morning cardiovascular numbers before you even get out of bed to start your day. James was 67 years old, and his daily diet was absolutely flawless, yet his morning monitor readings were stubbornly stuck at 150/90, making him feel like he was constantly failing at his health goals. It turned out that his completely undiagnosed sleep interruptions, where he was fully waking up 4 or 5 times a single night, were keeping his nervous system trapped in a state of high alert fight or flight until dawn. Once he adjusted his quiet evening routine to allow him to sleep solidly through the dark hours, his morning numbers dropped beautifully without requiring any changes to his daily medication or his already perfect diet. Every single time you wake up fully in the middle of the quiet night, your brain mistakenly interprets this sudden physical disruption as a potential physical threat and instantly releases a heavy surge of adrenaline and cortisol directly into your circulating bloodstream. These invisible stress hormones immediately cause your resting heart to beat slightly faster and your relaxed blood vessels to suddenly constrict, which artificially inflates your cardiovascular numbers and keeps them dangerously high for several hours after you finally wake up for the day. Please take a brief moment right now and let me know in the comments below if you struggle with waking up multiple times during the night, as this is an incredibly common hidden trigger among older adults trying to manage their heart health. You can easily begin to manage this nighttime disruption by establishing a strict, non-negotiable cutoff time for drinking liquids about 2 full hours before you plan to go to sleep, which significantly reduces the sudden, urgent need to use the restroom at 2 in the morning. You should also make a concerted effort to keep your bedroom completely dark and relatively cool throughout the night, as this physical environment signals directly to your aging brain that it is time to remain in a state of deep, restorative rest rather than remaining on anxious high alert. If you frequently find yourself snoring loudly, gasping for air, or waking up with a very dry mouth and a morning headache, you should mention this to your doctor, as these are classic signs of sleep apnea, a condition that heavily strains the heart. Even minor adjustments to your sleeping environment can yield massive dividends for your daytime energy levels and your long-term cardiovascular stability. Managing your overnight rest efficiently supports steadier readings by allowing your entire cardiovascular system to truly power down, relax its grip, and properly repair itself from the daily wear and tear of living. Here is another simple habit that takes almost no time at all but makes a massive difference. 7. You must engage in exactly 15 minutes of light, continuous physical movement immediately after finishing your last meal of the day to help quickly clear out lingering blood sugar and physically soften your stiffening arteries before you go to bed. This gentle, easy evening activity utilizes the circulating glucose from your heavy dinner as immediate physical energy, preventing it from thickening your blood while simultaneously promoting much better, warmer circulation throughout your entire resting body overnight. Linda was 70 years old, and she had a deeply ingrained, comfortable habit of moving straight from the family dinner table to her favorite soft recliner to watch evening television for the rest of the night until she fell asleep in the chair. She noticed her feet were always freezing cold, and her evening blood pressure monitor readings were consistently elevated, making it incredibly difficult for her to truly relax and wind down for a proper night of deep sleep. By simply swapping that immediate sedentary sitting time for a gentle, slow 15-minute living room walk, her entire cardiovascular system relaxed overnight and her morning monitor numbers improved dramatically within just a few short weeks. When you sit down completely still immediately after eating a large filling meal, the sugar and carbohydrates from your food enter your bloodstream very rapidly and without any active muscle movement to burn it off. It can temporarily cause your blood to become noticeably thicker and more difficult for your heart to pump. Light, continuous movement literally forces your large leg muscles to pull that floating sugar directly out of the circulating blood to use for immediate energy, which naturally thins the blood back out and triggers the release of nitric oxide, a natural, soothing chemical that gently expands your blood vessels. You absolutely do not need to put on tight exercise clothes or go outside in the dark or cold weather. You can simply walk slow, steady laps around your kitchen island, pace calmly down your hallway, or march gently in place while watching your favorite evening television program. The primary key to success here is to keep your feet moving at a steady, incredibly comfortable pace for a full 15 minutes without stopping, ensuring you are breathing easily and never pushing yourself to the point of sweating or losing your normal breath. If you experience chest pain, fainting, severe shortness of breath, or one-sided weakness while moving around your home, seek emergency care immediately, as these are critical warning signs that should never be ignored. For the vast majority of older adults, however, this simple evening routine is a wonderfully safe and highly effective way to ease the daily burden on an aging cardiovascular system without requiring a gym membership or heavy weights. This simple physical sweep of your bloodstream supports steadier readings by giving your heart a much-needed, well-deserved break before it settles into its long, quiet, overnight rhythm. 8. You must immediately begin rinsing all of your canned vegetables and beans under cold running water before you heat them up or add them to your daily meals. This simple preparatory action physically washes away a massive amount of hidden sodium preservatives that rapidly absorb into your bloodstream and artificially inflate your overall blood volume. Robert was 73 years old, and he genuinely believed he was eating a perfectly healthy diet by consuming canned vegetable soups and canned beans every single afternoon for his lunch. His daily blood pressure readings remained stubbornly high because he was unknowingly consuming hundreds of milligrams of liquid sodium that were entirely invisible to his eye. Once he simply started pouring his canned foods into a metal strainer and thoroughly washing them in the sink before cooking, his pressure readings dropped into a much safer range without him having to change the actual foods he loved to eat. When food is packaged in a metal can, manufacturers pump it full of liquid sodium to ensure it stays preserved on the grocery store shelf for several years without spoiling. If you just open the can and pour the entire contents directly into your cooking pot, you are consuming all of that liquid preservative, which forces your aging kidneys to work overtime to filter it out. By simply taking an extra 60 seconds to place your beans or vegetables into a kitchen strainer and running them under cold tap water until the water runs completely clear, you instantly remove up to 40% of that dangerous excess sodium. You can easily do this at home with almost any canned savory item, ensuring you are only eating the actual vegetable itself and not the salty liquid it was stored in. You should keep a small, fine mesh strainer permanently placed right next to your kitchen sink so that you never forget to perform this vital step when preparing your afternoon or evening meals. If you are living with advanced heart failure and your doctor has placed you on an incredibly strict, measured daily fluid and sodium restriction, you should try to purchase cans specifically labeled with zero added salt instead of relying solely on rinsing. Taking this brief moment at the kitchen sink ensures that you are protecting your heart from invisible dietary traps that are incredibly common in modern, convenient grocery store foods. This simple adjustment supports steadier readings by keeping your internal fluid volume perfectly balanced throughout the afternoon. Another helpful step is learning how to protect your body from sudden environmental changes. 9. You need to completely avoid stepping out into cold morning air to retrieve your mail or newspaper without thoroughly covering your chest and neck with a thick layer of warm clothing. Preventing sudden temperature shock to your skin stops your nervous system from instantly constricting your surface blood vessels, which immediately forces your heart to pump much harder just to keep your internal organs warm. Helen was 68 years old, and she had a long-standing routine of walking down her driveway in a thin, cotton morning robe on brisk autumn and winter mornings to grab her daily paper. She noticed her heart would pound heavily in her chest the moment the cold wind hit her neck, and her morning blood pressure spikes were completely unpredictable and deeply concerning to her doctor. Once she simply started putting on a heavy winter coat and wrapping a thick scarf tightly around her neck before opening the front door, her dangerous morning cardiovascular spikes completely stopped. When sudden, uncomfortably cold air hits the sensitive skin on your chest and the back of your neck, the sensory nerves instantly send an emergency signal directly to your brain to protect your core body heat. Your brain responds to this cold shock by instantly shrinking all of the thousands of tiny blood vessels near the surface of your skin, which rapidly pushes all of your circulating blood inward toward your vital organs. This sudden inward rush of fluid dramatically increases the overall pressure inside your main arteries, causing a severe and immediate spike in your top blood pressure number that can last for hours after you come back inside. Most older adults can try this safely by simply placing a dedicated heavy cardigan or a warm zip-up jacket right on the hook next to their front door. You must make sure the clothing covers the very top of your chest and the back of your neck, as these specific areas contain the highest concentration of temperature-sensing nerves that trigger the rapid vessel constriction response. If you already have severe diagnosed circulation issues in your legs or hands, you should limit your exposure to extreme cold weather entirely, as your vessels already struggle to maintain proper, steady blood flow even in warm environments. By keeping your skin protected from the sharp chill of the morning air, you are preventing an entirely unnecessary physical stress response that heavily taxes your aging heart. This very simple environmental habit supports steadier readings by keeping your blood vessels relaxed and open during your vulnerable morning hours. One more easy change involves a gentle exercise you can do while sitting down. 10. You must begin practicing a gentle, static hand grip exercise using a rolled-up washcloth or hand towel while you are sitting completely still in your favorite living room chair. This entirely motionless form of exercise gently conditions the blood vessels in your arms to become much more flexible, creating a lasting, relaxing effect on your overall cardiovascular system without putting any stress on your knees or hips. William was 75 years old, and his severe joint pain prevented him from taking long daily walks, which led to his blood vessels becoming very stiff and his resting blood pressure climbing steadily higher every single month. He started squeezing a rolled-up hand towel firmly in his fist for just a few minutes every afternoon while watching television, and over the course of several weeks, his resting numbers began to drop back down to a remarkably safe level. When you grip an object firmly and hold that muscle contraction without actually moving your arm, your muscles briefly compress the local blood vessels, briefly restricting the flow of blood in that specific area. The moment you finally release your grip and relax your hand, a heavy rush of fresh blood floods back into the tissue, which naturally stimulates the inner lining of your arteries to release soothing, widening chemicals. This simple biological reaction directly stimulates the rigid walls of your blood vessels, slowly teaching them how to expand and contract properly again without requiring you to engage in heavy, exhausting aerobic workouts. You just need to tightly roll up a small bathroom hand towel, hold it in your right hand, and squeeze it with steady, firm pressure for exactly 2 minutes while continuing to breathe completely normally. After the 2 minutes are up, you must let your hand rest completely for 2 full minutes before switching the towel to your left hand and repeating the exact same process, doing this for a total of 4 squeezes each day. If you currently suffer from severe arthritis in your hands, painful carpal tunnel syndrome, or active joint inflammation, you must squeeze very gently and stop immediately if the motion causes any sharp pain in your fingers or wrists. This incredibly accessible routine is easy on the joints and provides an excellent alternative pathway to maintaining cardiovascular flexibility for seniors who cannot walk for long distances. This straightforward daily habit supports steadier readings over time by continually encouraging your blood vessels to maintain their youthful, necessary elasticity. If you know someone over 50 who could benefit from this, share this video and subscribe for more simple blood pressure tips.